Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing Zablotsky from Russia, and I am in the 3 minute pool. And what do we have? A Queen's Gambit. Ooh, an Albin counter gambit. I'll play A3. This is a useful move to control B4. Then I'll go G3 and Fianchetto the light square bishop. Not incredibly knowledgeable about this line. E3. I think Knight BD2 also would have been a good idea earlier on. Let's play E3. I'm opting for kind of a, I'd say, not necessarily toothless, but pretty calm continuation with E3 on move 8. Okie doke, so I'll castle. Knight takes C4 is not advised because of Queen A4 check. So he plays C6. Now he is threatening to take. Probably B3 makes sense. I'll Fianchetto this bishop. I would really like to win his D3 pawn, of course. He can play bishop G4 now to try to mess with my development. That would be a good option. Because then I'd be more or less forced to play F3. Because if I move my queen, then it'd be pretty awful to have to deal with knight F3 check. So for that reason, I think I'm going to play this and just control the G4 square. Yeah, I think he should have played bishop G4 on the previous move. I like my position. I think I have good potential to push him back. I can just take this, right? So I'm attacking his knight. If take here, he's sacrificing the exchange, I guess. I could just take on E5 and ignore this as well. That would be safe. Safe, but not critical. Ah, I see something now. Okay, I am going to do this. And then after we trade, I have... Okay, I can either play bishop takes G7 or Queen A1 right away. I think I'm going to do bishop takes G7 immediately.
Check.
Yeah, we'll go for this line. So I've won a pawn. And as long as I keep this D2 pawn under wraps, I gotta be doing well. Just Queen A1. Yeah, I think I can just do Queen A1. D2 will block this guy. He's moving pretty darn fast. Yeah, on this I have to play here. It's okay though. Probably should play bishop D3. Because I don't want to give him the D3 square to work his rook into. So that's what I'll do. I expect him to play F5. No, he plays B5. Okay, now let's go F3. Yeah, good chance I'm going to come away with at least an extra pawn. Possibly 2 extra pawns. But I think he can win one of my queenside pawns. Like right now I'd be looking at swapping on C4, and then he plays rook D4 maybe. I play king F2. No, he declines to do that. He's really trying to weaken a lot of my stuff. Let's take with the pawn. I've just got king D2 or king E3 coming next. Not much he can do about it. Huh. He can do that. That's annoying. Bishop D3. Bishop D3. Let's do bishop D3. Still better. He's putting up active defense, though. His pieces are real optimally placed. And my time is not good. Okay.
Check.
Oh, I'm just losing E4. That was kind of dumb. Well, I gotta fly now. And hope I can maybe win his H-pawn. Let's go here.
Check.
This is still my game to win.
Check.
Give him a check. Let's push this guy.
Time warning.
Ooh. Except that was not wise. This is like still a draw though.
Check.
Okay.
Draw.
So now we got a draw on our hands.
Check.
Yeah, that's probably a fair result. Probably a fair result. Let's take a look. What to say about this one? I think... I wish I knew more theory on this line. I think bishop g2 is already not so good. Am I supposed to play knight bd2 right now? With the idea that after knight g6 I go knight b3 and attack the d4 pawn? That might be it. That might be the proper way to play this position. Because I played just g3, bishop g2, but then he gets knight g6 in, and already I don't think I have anything. I was a little surprised by d3. Don't know that d3 is great for him. Computer seems to think it's fine. I just have the feeling this pawn is overextended. But maybe not terribly so. Yeah, I think he should have played bishop g4 right at this moment. Because then I'd have to play f3. Maybe this isn't as disruptive as I thought, but I just thought this pawn structure for me was ugly. Problem is I couldn't play h3 right here because my pawn on c4 is hanging now. Now that he's addressed the queen a4 check problem, which would have been a real disaster if he had done this, as I mentioned, because of that undefended piece, loose piece. So c6 and then b3. I guess the computer doesn't think bishop g4 is that bad for me. But I felt it was necessary to prevent that. The engine says just grab on a4. I don't know. I thought he had reasonable compensation. After bishop c3, it seemed to me like a3 was weak, and his bishop could just park itself on e6. And I still haven't neutralized the d-pawn. So all in all, I thought he had pretty good play, although I am up just a pure exchange. He doesn't have any pawns for it. So I perhaps took a little bit too long going for this combo. This bishop takes g7 idea. Although it is a nice idea.
Check.
It's a shame that he has so much play after this. But I don't know. I think I played this pretty well. Computer prefers queen e7 now. Attacking the queen and then threatening queen g5 check maybe in some instances? Interesting. Instead, I went for the queen trade. I'm being pretty liberal with the engine use here. I'm just trying to get to the parts that I was most interested in. This position is essential to the evaluation of this entire line, trading the queens. Why is bishop e6 so good? Let's think about this. I'll turn off the engine. So the computer much preferred bishop e6 over bishop f5 as he played it. Because as played in the game, after bishop f5, e4, I'm gaining some useful tempos. So bishop e6, what would be the plan after this? Maybe just to advance b5. Maybe that's the plan. So, yeah, like if I were to play king f1, b5 maybe even puts me in some danger. Because if take, he can take on b3. Hello, rook. So it's important that if b5 is played, I can respond with bishop f1. That's maybe the point in this position. So I'm guessing I would have played bishop f1, but maybe now he plays bishop f5. Aha. Yeah, that's got to be the subtle point. And now I don't have e4 as a defense. That's very subtle for a blitz game. It's a nice idea, though. Bishop e6. So I guess I'd have to come up with something better, like maybe bishop f3? I don't know. Something in order to enable my king to get over, yet still allow me to play bishop f1 if needed. Maybe f4? Difficult to say. But if I get into the habit of weakening this e3 pawn, then maybe he can come over and rook d3 really gains in value. Yeah, bishop f6 would have been hard for me to deal with this amount of time. King f1. Okay, it says rook d3 is okay, but what about b5? b5, I can just ignore it? Really? Take. Okay. Yeah, and I guess
Check.
if this happens and he takes here, I can take here with better chances. Decent chances to win, actually. So king f1 is still okay. But after rook d3, c5, take here. Rook c3, I may end up losing this pawn. This is the computer's main line, g4. It says this position is equal. Well, at a glance, I would definitely take black in the 2 connected passers versus the 4 versus 2 majority. I think the 2 connected passers are a bigger deal. As played, though, after bishop f5, I really feel I should win. Yeah, bishop f1. I think I prevented his counterplay pretty well for a while. f3, yeah, king f2. He did a good job of pushing his pawns and creating weaknesses. So like that move f5, that was a great move by him. Because I can't take it. If I take it, he takes with the bishop and he gets into c2. And he knows that his structure is much inferior on the king side. So by playing f5, he not only trades one of his bad pawns for one of my strong pawns, but he also just, in general, by making this pawn trade, gets closer to a draw. This is a really good idea. King f6, and then king e5. And I didn't want to go into this bishop endgame, which well, maybe it wouldn't have happened, but I was thinking like this was his idea. I didn't know that this was winning, because the pawn that I'm up is negated by his king activity. There's no doubt about that. Also, he's threatening the h3 pawn and the c4 pawn. They're both under observation by his bishop. So that's why I played bishop d3. See, the computer is saying c5 was also worth a shot. I guess that's so, when I do take on d2, at least c4 is not a target. I think this should be a draw, though. He's got great activity. Seems like black has enough to draw now. c5 again was good. I was noticing that we were creeping towards time pressure, so that's why I did this at this point. Yeah, and rook d3 was just totally dumb. I forgot that e4 was hanging with check. And actually, he could have taken it on... No, he couldn't have. If he took it on this
check.
move, I had this. That would be horrible. But, yeah, I played rook d3 in an instant because I saw that this was a threat, so that's why I did it. But rook d7 would have been much better, going immediately after his h-pawn.
Check.
Yeah, and this position should be a draw.
Check.
He played it well. I went after his h-pawn, but he didn't flinch. I was hoping here he'd play c5, which would interfere with his rook guarding the h5 pawn, so I could take it. But nope, he did not do that.
Check.
Yeah, and I did this,
Check.
forgetting that he had rook c3. Actually, not seeing that he had rook c3. I guess I should have just played rook h6 again.
Check.
Now it's all an out-and-out time scramble. I guess he still has good chances to win,
Check.
but yeah, with the time pressure. And he's a nice guy. He didn't try to go for a flag. He's not going to reduce it to king and rook versus king and rook when we're both under 20 seconds. So, good result. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that game. That was a lot of fun to play. And please leave me any feedback in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys.